We're going to be converting our 3D point cloud into a text file and then into a mesh within MeshLab. So let's get started. So let's head over to MATLAB, and what we see here is the code I was using to actually convert our 3D point cloud into a text file. So right off the bat, this is the part where that actually happens. So previously we had already created all our different point clouds for the front, the right, the back, and the left of the grill that we're working on. And so now our job is to pull all the different locations, and that's, as you can see, that's what we do here, and we want to store them as XYZ points. And so once we pull all the different points, we're then going to go ahead and combine them all into one big matrix. So this is all the XYZ points after they've been transformed, and this essentially, if we were to plot this, it would create once again, our 3D point cloud of the grill. Next step to do is we want to create our actual text file. Here I created it on my desktop, and I run it through a for loop so that I just keep printing all the separate XYZ points down the line as we go through the entire length of our XYZ points matrix. And so let's go ahead and run that. And while that's running, it does take a little bit of time because we're going through the for loop of every single point. I can go ahead and talk about the next part we wanted to do. So over here, just to make sure that what we've been doing is right, I actually pulled the XYZ coordinates from the XYZ points matrix that we had just made up here. And this allows us to make sure that, everything translated properly, and just it's a way of making sure that everything worked out properly. So once we go get that, we see that our point cloud is nice and clean over here. Most of the noise has been removed, and as you can see, it does look a lot like a grill. And so because, as I mentioned, we had saved it on my desktop, let's head over to my desktop, and right here we can see the XYZ points. And so I'm going to go ahead and open up the PDF, and we can just make sure everything looks good before we head on to the next part of the. So awesome. So here we have our XYZ points, and as another way of checking, we can go ahead and open our XYZ points matrix over here and just compare the first set of values. So we see these here, and we also see the same points right there. So we are good to go on that section. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and we can head over to the Mesh Lab, which is the next part. So once we have Mesh Lab open, we go ahead and import our mesh that we just constructed. And so go to my desktop, we open up our XYZ points. So let's go ahead and open it. Really important to make sure our separator was spaces here, because that's how we made our file. So once we open this, we see all our points, and kind of honestly looks very similar to what it looked like in MATLAB. It's a little hard to see here, so we can go ahead and change the point size a little bit so we can see a little bit better. So again, that's our grill there. Important step that we have to do next is in our render, we want to show normal, and this is going to be useful when we go on to the next step, which is we're actually going to be making sure to calculate our normals for the point sets. So here, we determined the neighbor number that is going to be best suited for us right now. So 10 is the default. Let's just go see what that looks like. So we see all the normal lines, and they're kind of parallel with one another, when in reality we kind of want them sticking out from every face, because as we discussed, they're normal. So we want to make sure that it's lined up properly so we can properly generate a mesh. So that's what 10 looks like. We can try another number of 50 to kind of show the difference. And here we can see that on this side, that face, we kind of have a lot more sticking out, but on the side, it's still not very good. So I kind of played around this number, and it looks like 92 worked really well for me here. So we can go ahead and do 92, and we can see that everything is normal to our different surfaces, and so that's exactly what we want. So we'll go ahead and close that, and then the next step is actually to start the remeshing, and we go to Screen Poisson Surface Reconstruction, and we don't really have to mess around with these values as of now, so we'll just go ahead and run our create our mesh. As we look at our mesh, we can see that it kind of looks like a grill from some angles, but we also have a lot of extra stuff over here, so we can go ahead and remove that with some of the tools over here. So we just click on our mesh here, go to this button over here, which allows us to select faces in rectangle region. So we can go ahead and remove parts of the mesh that we don't actually need. So that's like, we can remove that guy there. Same thing on the other side. And we also take off a little bit of the top. And then we can just go ahead and remove this part here. So last part. So now, it's still not perfect, but it does resemble the the grill as our target. And if we go ahead and quickly compare this to our MATLAB portion, so let me just pull that up real quick. So we have our point cloud here, and we have our mesh over there. And so what we can kind of see is areas that we had a little bit more sparse or lack of points is where we have gaps in our mesh. So right there along the top, we also see some gaps here. And that's because we can't exactly find all the normal lines and points we need to actually create one solid mesh. But it does honestly line up pretty well with our point cloud that we saw previously. So overall, that's how we convert our 3D point cloud into a mesh. And thanks for watching.